Hi guys, welcome back to TOEFL with Juva. I scored 30 in TOEFL Writing and today I show you how you can write an essay for the integrated task in TOEFL Writing. I show you my solution for the first integrated task that you can find in the ETS Practice Test. By the way, if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss the next video. Let's get started. The integrated task in TOEFL Writing is about arguments. It asks you to state the arguments of the writer and the lecturer. And the lecturer will always directly oppose the arguments of the writer. What we are first going to do now is we are going to take notes on both, on the article and on the lecture. We are now drawing a table. On the left side, we take notes for the article, and on the right side, we take notes for the lecture. If you want a high score in the integrated task in TOEFL Writing, you must use your own words. And that's why it's very important that you already use your own words when taking notes, because this will make it a lot easier for you using your own words later when you write the essay. First, we have to write down a few keywords regarding the article as a whole. The question is, what is the article about? If you have read the article, you know that the article is about the eco-certification of wood products. Eco-certification means that the product is environmentally friendly. And we also have to add one more point here. The writer is of the opinion that it is not likely that American wood companies will adopt environmentally friendly practices to get eco-certification. So I'm just going to write down a minus here to indicate that. The writer states that Americans are exposed to so many advertisements that they would not even pay attention if there was a label on a product that says, hey, I'm eco-certified. I'm just going to write down too many ads and I'm going to write down not aware. Now, the writer states another thing. He states that there are so many mediocre products in the US that have labels that say new or improved, so that Americans don't really trust them anymore. So I'm going to write down deceptive labeling. Let's go on with the second argument of the writer. The writer goes on saying that obtaining eco-certification is very expensive. And this means that the wood products will get more expensive if they have an eco-certification label. And he also says that the price is important for Americans. And if the products get more expensive, they will prefer buying cheaper wood products. So I'm just going to write down costly process, and Americans are price sensitive, so they care about the price and buy less expensive products. That's totally sufficient. Let's get to the third and last argument of the writer. The writer states that American wood companies do not have to keep pace with global developments in the wood business, because these companies sell the majority of their products in the US. So I'm just going to write down keep pace and a minus, so that I know this is not necessary according to the writer. And I'm going to write down that this is because American wood companies sell the majority of products in the US. Now let's go on with the counter-arguments of the lecturer. First, and this is important for our introduction, we need to indicate that the lecturer is of a different opinion. He thinks that it is indeed very likely that American wood companies will get eco-certification. So I will put a plus in the first row of the table to indicate that. Let's go on with the first counter-argument of the lecturer. The lecturer states that If wood products are certified by independent agencies, Americans will trust these labels and they will pay attention to these products. And he adds that Americans who care about the environment will be attracted to these products. As you can see, this first argument of the lecturer directly opposes the first argument of the writer. Now let's go on with the second counter-argument of the lecturer. The lecturer states that Americans only refrain from buying a product if the price difference is significant. In particular, he states that if the discrepancy is less than 5%, other factors are decisive. And he adds that environmentally friendly behavior is becoming more and more important for Americans. Now let's get to the final counter-argument of the lecturer. The lecturer states that it's indeed very important for American wood companies to keep an eye on global developments, because he states that if Americans want to buy eco-certified wood products and these products are not offered by domestic companies, their demand will be satisfied by foreign companies. Now we are going to write the essay for the integrated task. In this essay, we will use the template that I created for TOEFL Writing. If you need a template for the integrated task in TOEFL Writing, check out my video about that. You can find the link in the description below. First, let's start with the introduction. In the first sentence in your introduction, you must tell the reader what the article and the lecture are about. And you will find this information in the first row of your table. So let's have a look at this row. I'm going to write the article and the lecture both deal with the eco-certification of wood products, which demonstrates that they are environmentally friendly. This is the first sentence of our introduction. It tells the reader exactly what the article and the lecture are about. In the rest of your introduction, you have to tell the reader that the author and the lecturer are of different opinions and that the lecturer opposes the author's claims. I'm going to write whilst the author of the reading thinks that it is not likely that American wood companies will start producing wood in an ecologically friendly way to become eco-certified for 3 specific reasons. The lecturer opposes the author's claims. In his opinion, American wood companies will at some point certify their wood products. We are now done with the introduction. Let's quickly wrap up what you have to do in the introduction. In the introduction, you have to tell the reader what the article and the lecture are about. You have to tell the reader that the author has a specific opinion and that he supports his opinion using 3 arguments, and that the lecturer is of a different opinion and that he opposes the claims of the author. That's it. This is the introduction for the integrated essay in TOEFL Writing. In the following, we are going to write 3 paragraphs. Each paragraph contains 1 argument of the writer and 1 counter-argument of the lecturer. And we will leave a blank line between each paragraph. This way you make sure that you write a well-structured essay that gets you a high score in the integrated task in TOEFL Writing. We will always start with the argument of the writer, and then we go on with the counter-argument of the lecturer, and we oppose these arguments. Now let's start with the first body paragraph. What you should first do is have a look at the second row of your table, because this is where you can find the keywords for the first argument of the writer and the first counter-argument of the lecturer, and then write your paragraph. So I'm going to write first, the writer claims that Americans are bombarded with so many advertisements that they would not even realize if some products were eco-certified. Now, as you can see, I started my sentence with first, and I went on, I said, the writer claims that, to show that I'm going to talk about the first argument of the writer. Now, I still need to tell the reader that Americans don't trust labels anymore, so I go on and I say, furthermore, it is stated in the article that, due to deceptive labeling, American consumers have lost trust in advertisements. Now, as you can see here, I started the sentence differently. I said, furthermore, it is stated in the article that. Furthermore is a nice expression to add an idea. You could also use additionally or moreover. These are all nice transitions that you can use to start this sentence. And I went on and I said, it is stated in the article that. I didn't want to say again, the writer claims that. I said, it is stated in the article that, to show that I know other words to say that the writer says something. I can highly recommend checking out my template for the integrated task, because in this template you will see these expressions, and if you memorize them before taking the TOEFL, you will know how to start your sentences in a smart way, and you won't need to think about that when writing the essay. And if you start each of your sentences in a different way, this will enable you to get a high score in TOEFL writing. Now we have to tell the reader that the lecturer opposes the argument of the author. I'm going to write in contrast. The lecturer argues that American consumers indeed do pay attention to claims about products made by independent organizations since they trust them. As you can see, I started my sentence with in contrast. This is a nice expression you can use to indicate that you are contrasting two arguments here. And I said the lecturer argues that. I used argue instead of to claim, for example, because I already used to claim when talking about the argument of the writer, and I wanted to use a different word. And if you compare this essay to the article and the lecture, you will see that I rephrased each argument. Now we still have to add one point. This is the point about Americans that care about the environment. So I'm going on and I say, additionally, he maintains that Americans who are concerned about the environment will be attracted to wood products certified by a trustworthy agency. So as you can see here, I used additionally to show that I'm going to add another idea of the lecturer, and I used the verb to maintain to talk about what the lecturer states. Now let's go on with the second argument of the writer. We will now leave a blank line and start a new paragraph. I start this paragraph with second, to indicate to the reader that I'm going to talk about the second argument of the writer. So I'm going to write, second, the author mentions that obtaining eco-certification is a costly process and American consumers will be burdened with that cost. Now I want to add that he also says that Americans care a lot about the price. So I'm going on. I write on top of that, he adds that as Americans are very price sensitive, they will buy less expensive wood products which have not been eco-certified. Now we also need to talk about the counter-argument of the lecturer. So I go on, I say, however, the lecturer calls this argument into question by saying that Americans only refrain from buying a more expensive product if the price difference between several products is significant. If the discrepancy is less than 5%, other other aspects are decisive. Further, he remarks that environmentally friendly behavior is becoming more and more important for Americans. If you have a look at the article and the lecture, you can see that I rephrased the argument and the counter-argument. Let's get to the last argument of the writer. I start this paragraph with finally to indicate that this is the last argument of the writer. And I go on, I say, the writer asserts that it would only be reasonable for American wood companies to have their products eco-certified if they sold the majority of the products outside of the US. Yet, as American wood companies sell the bulk of the products in the US, they do not need to seek eco-certification since American consumers are happy with their products. I again used a different verb. I said the writer asserts that, and what I also did is I rephrased an expression from the article in two different ways. In the article, the writer argues that American wood companies sell most of their products in the US. I wanted to use a synonym for most, so I used majority. I said it would only make sense to eco-certify the products if American wood companies sold the majority of their products outside of the US. And then I used the bulk. I said American wood companies sell the bulk of their products in the US. So I used the words majority and bulk to rephrase most of. This is just to show you guys that you should always try to use your own words, because this is what you will get points for in TOEFL writing. Now let's go on with the last counter-argument of the lecturer. I'm going to write as opposed to the author. The lecturer holds that it is important for American wood companies to keep an eye on global developments in the wood business. He highlights that if American companies do not satisfy the American consumers' demand for eco-certified products, foreign companies will do so soon. Now, as you can see here, I started my first sentence about the counter-argument of the lecturer with as opposed to indicate that this is a counter-argument, and I used the verb to hold. I said the lecturer holds that, and I used to highlight. These are all nice verbs you can use instead of to say or to state. That's it. We're done. This is an integrated essay for the first integrated task in the ETS practice test. Now let's quickly wrap up what you should do when writing your integrated essay to get a high TOEFL writing score. First, you must make sure that you write a well-structured essay. Pay attention to that when taking your notes. Use a table, only write down a few keywords and make the structure very clear. When writing your essay, you must signal the structure to the reader by using several paragraphs. You write an introduction and then you write one paragraph for each argument and counter-argument. And you always leave a blank line between these paragraphs to make this clear. Also, you need to make sure that you show ETS that you have a broad range of vocabulary. So make sure that you use your own words when taking notes and when writing your essay. Also, use transitions such as first, second, additionally, furthermore, and so on, because this will boost your TOEFL writing score considerably. It also helps you structure your essay, because you tell the reader, look, this is the first argument and this is the second argument, and so on. And of course, guys, as I said before, I highly recommend using a TOEFL writing template for the integrated task, because if you memorize this template before taking the TOEFL, you will already know how to start your sentences. You will have different words in your head that you can use, and it also gives you the structure you need to write a well-structured essay. That's it. This is my solution for the first integrated task in the ETS practice test. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions or a video wish, tell me about that in the comments below. And if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss the next video. I'd love to see you here next time. Bye bye!